Okay, week in review, November 21st, 2022. This this morning had four members of a SWAT team from the Bay Area, snipers, come out and do some training. Worked with them on their Kestrel. It's a little wind device that also gives you your ballistics, and taught them how to use it, and then took them out up to the 400, 500, and 600 yard markers on my range, or distances on my range, and let them put it into practical application and use it. So it was a good time. I really enjoy shooting and teaching these guys who come out and train with me. Those of you who don't know, I offer free training to SWAT teams for sniper stuff, sniper training, sniper sustainment, and actually I've had a couple groups out do some rifle and pistol stuff. So if you're part of a team or you know a team who'd like to come out and get some training, email me at dave@crossfit.com, and I'd love to work with you guys. You just got to come out here. So the last time on the week in review, I talked about programming, dove into that. This time I'm going to rant off of some of the comments that I received and kind of expand on in relation to that video. So it's a little continuation of the programming discussion. One comment someone mentioned that I want to bring up: Spartan race opportunity is so cool. I hope that lots of people take you up on it because CrossFit is great training for Spartan racing. My primary training has been following CrossFit Linchpin, having a blast. So that's from Jen Fransky. Super cool feedback on the Spartan race and how she uses CrossFit, specifically Pat's CrossFit Linchpin, to train for it. We've had a lot of people sign up for it. I think we're over 100 now. So great job with the community rallying behind this race to kind of show up and throw down, take the fitness outside of the box. It was very short notice, but it's a really good offer, the ability to do the race with a bunch of other CrossFitters and not have to pay registration. Super excited about that. That's in a few weeks. Will be a good time. If you haven't registered or you want to register, hit me up and we'll get you set up to go to the event on CrossFit and Spartan Race. Spartan Race is partnered with us to cover the registration fees. Jen, she mentioned she trained with CrossFit Linchpin. So Sherwood and CrossFit Linchpin, speaking of programming, if you're looking for a great traditional style programming or kind of old school core CrossFit, he's definitely one to look at. He puts all his stuff on Beyond the Whiteboard. He works with them too. And you'll get great hardcore old school programming out of his stuff. We go way back. We actually first met in 1997 in the Navy in BUDS, which is Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. So when we were in the pipeline to become SEALs, we went through that together, and then we both ended up at SEAL Team 4 together. Then a few years later, no, actually years later, maybe 7 or 8 years later, I was working for CrossFit and reached out to Pat and asked if he wanted to be involved. So another good question a question that I wanted to address from last week's video, Brandon Waddell. Main site follows the 3-on, 1-off model, while a lot of the affiliates tend to follow 5-on, 2-off, or a variation. Do you have a preferred model or another variation? I do have a preferred model, and it's actually not 3-on, 1-off anymore, or 5-on, 2-off. So for years, I followed 3-on, 1-off, and I mean, when I say years, probably 15 years, like the majority of my time while doing CrossFit. About 2 years ago, maybe at this point 2.5 years ago, I decided to mix it up for two reasons. One, the 3-on, 1-off, 3-on, 1-off, I felt like I was getting to a place where I could not recover well enough. So I decided to experiment with a format that we actually talked about in the Level 1 a lot in the past. And what it is, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of affiliates use this too. Monday on, Tuesday on, Wednesday on, Thursday off, Friday on, Saturday on, Sunday off. And so it's not, if you can see that back there, Monday on, Tuesday on, Wednesday on, Thursday off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. A 5-on, 2 off for me would be way too much. It would be hard for me personally and a lot of people to sustain intensity and to have drive and push for 5 days of CrossFit training and all the things that follow with it. It wouldn't maximize your return on each session. Where I was saying the 3 on 1 off, I felt like it was too much to do the 3, then the 1, then the 3, then the 1 back to back to back. The 5 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off, I think is a nice blend of it's the best of all worlds. I get a 3 on 1 off cycle, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, and then I get 2 days, so I could go pretty harder on those 2 days and then get a rest. Where there was times, especially towards the end of the last few years of doing 3 on 1 off, 3 on 1 off, I'd be on that cycle hardcore, and by the second day of the 3 on 1 off, I was like dreading the third day and not feeling motivated or just blasted by the third day. So 3 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off gives me a nice 3-day session into a rest, 2-day session into a rest. The other massive piece I really enjoy with that is, since I travel so much, I used to always just like, where am I in the cycle? And regardless of what day, is this the second day? Is this the third day? Is this a rest day? Always trying to remember that and keep track of that was such a pain in the ass and just like a noisy burden that I didn't need. So with this cycle, Monday on, Tuesday on, Wednesday off, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on, Thursday off, Friday, Saturday on, Sunday off, I know whatever day it is, what it is. And that's super cool. So I know if I'm traveling and I get back and it's a Friday, I know I have to work out. If I get back and it's a Sunday, I know I have the day off. I know I can plan for things around that. Oh, well, Thursday's my day off, so I'll plan to do a longer session with my horse. Or Sunday's a day off, so I'll fast or whatnot. I can also plan fast and eating and events and whatever around my workout cycle. So that cycle for me in the last couple of years has been something that I've really enjoyed and I think is really valuable. And I think it's a lot of affiliates, a lot of members can follow something like that. A lot of people can follow something like that. I'd recommend that over a 3 on 2 off. And interestingly too, it is the same amount of workouts in a week as a 5 on 2 off. So 5 on 2 off, obviously you get 5 workouts, 2 days off. This you get 5 workouts, 2 days off, but with the ability to rest in between. This Brandon also asked me, do you follow the guidance of M, GW, NGW, GM, W, etc. in the programming template from the L1, or do you think following the guidance in the programming template from the L1 is the most effective for beginning programmers and CrossFitters? Yeah, I think in the beginning, yeah, especially following a template, following some rules, and then gaining experience and building off of that experience. And once you have a lot of experience with rules and with programming and with structure, and only once you have a lot of experience, don't be afraid to break the rules and try different things and go against some of the more traditional standards of our protocols or of our methodology or of what would appear to be the right dosing of something. Ignoring some of those rules and breaking them is oftentimes very necessary, but again, only once you have a really solid foundation of the principles and you know why you're doing that and you know why it makes sense. And here's what I mean by like breaking. So saw this recently in some programming. This is a good example. So thrusters one day followed by front squats another day. Typically, that kind of pairing isn't ideal. So the thruster, obviously it's front squat movement to press, and the next day some heavy thrusters or heavy front squats. The redundancy there and the similar, if not same, movement back to back in a baseline or in a for a beginner to program, I would say is less than ideal. If there's a point where you're like, I am very deliberately doing that because I want them to be like, you can get to a point later in the programming where that might be, you do want to test someone's front squat or you want to test your people while they're fatigued on that same movement. That's okay, but in the beginning, I would say stay true to some of the principles of not targeting the same things at the day after day, like that example. So another comment I want to address: I'm just too good. That was the name. Carbs are the way for the majority of athletes training at a high level. Most research, albeit most focused on endurance athletes, supports optimal performance coming from a higher carb intake as opposed to low carb, high fat. So that is entirely incorrect. There's a lot of research now that suggests that a high fat, low carb diet, especially for endurance athletes, is beneficial and a better way to fuel for endurance events. Then he says, now for optimal health in the everyday athlete, sure, a moderate carb intake coming from whole food sources is probably the best approach for most people. Disagree with that too. I agree with moderate carb, let's say even less carb. But to his first point, totally incorrect. There's a lot of research and evidence that supports that high fat, low carb is ideal for endurance training. Joe Stu Conlon, we use spill programming at our gym. Great organized warm-up, Metcon, organized cool-down, all in 1 hour. Of course, we run sometimes, but it's mainly me talking or laughing with an athlete. Love the programming on the GPP track. We only do 1 day a week dedicated to heavy lifting. So I wanted to share that because that's some good feedback to spiel programming and this individual enjoying what they, how they're putting it out. Organized warm-up, Metcon, and an organized cool down all in an hour. So if you guys are looking for, again, for some more traditional stuff, there's another old school option with Spiel. What do you think if someone says, Harold Voyevich, I have a quick question. What do you think if you break up the session, say in a garage gym setting, like a morning CrossFit workout and then an evening powerlifting session? Okay, so that's a really good point. Yeah, more open to that, or more, that would be a better way to do some of the more volume stuff for newer people or those not adapted to it, if they have the time. If they have the time. And why I say that is because in society, getting people to work out once a day is in our society, getting people to work out once a day, that alone is a large task. Much less asking them to rally to work out twice a day. So, if you have the time or the lifestyle where you can do something in the morning and something in the evening, for sure, experiment with that. And even then, I would ease into it if you're newer. It's funny, Greg had, towards, while I was working with him towards right before COVID, he was talking a lot about that, how he would train, let's say, an elderly, obese client. He thinks the ideal way for someone with no fitness level, that's late in life, that's really overweight, would be actually multiple small sessions throughout the day. Go for a walk in the morning, do some stuff in the afternoon, so just sit from a chair to stand, and then pick up some water jugs at the end of the day. Separated them all, small little sessions. He contends that that's an ideal approach to programming for clientele like that. William Kuhn, I take a lot of inspiration from Pat Sherwood as he shares these views on programming. However, my members very much prefer the 2-a-day style. They feel like they don't get enough work in otherwise. It has been a battle getting them to buy into things like proper warm-up and cool-down, so I feel like I'm taking baby steps with them. They don't believe they can get fitter just doing a Metcon or just a heavy day, when in the reality, the reasons they are not seeing more dramatic results are due to the nutrition choices and lack of consistency, as well as things like mobility and proper scaling. I'm sure other coaches struggle with this as well. Yes, so that's a good segue into this comment from Pete Shaw. So Pete Shaw, he's been to the games. He's a really smart contributor to some of the intellectual discussions in the community around training and all things related to the philosophy, to the methodology of CrossFit. And he's also on seminar staff, so has a lot of experience. Canadian. And I enjoy all his engagement because he has a lot of good things to say. So he had a really long comment. I'm going to read it. I can personally attest to the volume burnout theory. From 14 to 21, I was consistently making it to regionals, semifinals, with the goal to make it to the games. Made it in 2020. Earlier years would do 2-a-days, no off season after regionals. I would enjoy getting right back into the gym. In later years, it seemed I was doing 4 to 6 workouts a day, and by the end of the season, I wanted absolutely nothing to do with training for months on end. I'm currently doing 1 workout per day and splitting the time between .com and my affiliate programming. My body and mind feel great, and I am motivated every day to get back in the gym. Part of me always wants a little more at the end of my session, but if I cut myself off, then I'm quite juiced moving into the next session. Also enjoy being really smarter with programming to embrace the idea of minimum effective dose. It's a great challenge and takes an expert programmer to create maximum adaptation with minimum volume versus casting a big net and programming 5 workouts to hit every stimulus imaginable in a day. So those are all great points. Basically what he's talking about is the volume he was training, especially at the gains level, was just burning him out mentally, essentially, and even physically. And now he feels excited and rejuvenated to get into the gym every day after doing short sessions. I think, and I really do believe this, and I've seen it in myself, that the best way for longevity in CrossFit and this style of training is being able to recover, have the time to come back to the gym the next day and be motivated mentally and prepared physically to handle whatever you're going to do in the gym. I think when you're having the 2-a-days, it potentially stresses that. It puts more of a demand on the entire system and puts you in a deficit. He keeps going on. Affiliates programming 2 WOD classes. In my opinion, in his opinion, many gym owners have gotten comfortable with a class that lacks coaching and requires little skill to execute, except an attempt to keep everything within the time frame. It is easy for owners to fall into this trap because little resources are needed to keep staffing skills sharp. All they have to do is hand out the timeline. It takes a great coach to look at a single workout from